Welcome back to the unexpected part 2. Sorry about that. I accidentally disconnected our conversation. Sorry about that, Rob. It wasn't personal. So I hope you had time to stop, get yourself a drink, maybe a snack. And now we're going to get back to Rob telling his story about the Gettysburg.
Yeah.
The Gettysburg.
The Gettysburg. I am a big fan of watching paranormal ghost hunting type programs, and I watched one where they were showing people basically were sending in their videos and their photographs of paranormal stuff that they had witnessed, and one of them was Gettysburg. They'd gone there. This mother and her son had gone there, and they were filming the. It was just dusk, and it was just starting to get dark, and they were just filming nothing in particular, just the land, and in the distance there was a forest, and they saw, and you can clearly see it on the video, soldiers marching with lights like lanterns, not torches. Now, a lot of people said, well, it could just be something like a reenactment that they were filming because they were quite far away. Anyway, they looked at the video, and when they worked out the actual size of the people, these people that were marching weren't marching on the floor. They were a little bit higher than the floor for some. It's like when Tracy said about her house where she used to live, and the little boy was coming down the stairs where there weren't any stairs. This was the same. These soldiers they weren't marching on the floor unless they were something like 17 foot tall. So anyway, that's something that really, 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 really shocked me. And I think Tracy's got something to say about Gettysburg.
Well, not Gettysburg, not Gettysburg, but when you said to me that she saw them, but you described what they looked like. What they look like?
Yeah, they were in uniform. They were in the uniform of the time when the Civil War was on, or whatever war it was in America. They had grey uniform. They were grey, the uniforms, I think. They were grey. They weren't.
But the men, were they solid?
Were they solid?
Were they solid, or did they look more misty?
No, they were. They were quite solid. Yeah.
They were quite solid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you said that, and I said, "You stop right there. I don't want to talk about this anymore until we're on a podcast." The reason I said that is because that's how I see things. I can see things that seem solid. Not completely solid. Not like if you were standing there. And not particularly colors. I don't really see colors. It's more like that film, that really old film that's kind of...
What's it called?
Like septic.
Yeah, it's word like that.
Yeah, it's yeah, sepia. Yeah, septic, whatever, Tracy. Yeah, it's very ill with a bacterial infection. Anyway, yeah, I see sort of more of a sepia, like not black and white, not white, but more of a yellow, sort of a tinge for people. But I'd never told you that before. I'd never said that before. So I said that's why I wanted you to stop because we could talk about it on this. That's how I now it's hard to do. If there's a lot of people around, it's hard to get into that mindset. I have to be like not distract not I don't know if you people noticed or not, but I can be easily distracted. Just ask Rob. He knows. And so I have to be somewhere where I can really concentrate. So when I was in the Alamo, it was right before closing. It was just, I don't know, 25 minutes before closing. And there wasn't a whole lot of people in there. And so it was easy. And nobody talks. You're not really supposed to talk while you're in there out of respect. But, thousands of people died on that land. And what really irritates me is they took a huge portion of that land and they put like a Ripley's Believe It or Not and some gift shops and that. Oh.
Where's that?
At the Alamo.
The old. Oh.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. But
what's a Ripley's? Sorry.
A Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah.
Oh, it's World Records. The guy with the longest tongue, the tallest man alive. They have a replica of him.
They put that in where the Alamo is.
Yeah,
Why?
They put it across the street where the Alamo was fought, and like some tens of thousands of Mexican soldiers were buried in unnamed and unmarked graves.
I think I've heard everything now.
Yeah, it's really, that is something that is makes it even more disturbing for me as an empath, because I can feel this disruption. I can feel the disruption, not just what's going on when you're standing inside the Alamo, which is. Go ahead.
Excuse me. Just going back to the Gettysburg thing.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing as well, unless it was a mother and a son was about 17 or 18, unless they were really, really good actors,
mm-hmm.
They were really scared. They were really, really scared about what they were seeing, because they couldn't believe what they were seeing. And it didn't make sense. It didn't compute in their minds what was actually happening. And they quickly left. But they got quite a good 2 or 3 minutes worth of footage.
You could hear the drums out there as well.
Yeah, I think you said that the other day.
Well, the battlefield that I went to was in Missouri, Jacksonville, Missouri. No, Jacksonville, Mississippi. It was in Vicksburg, Mississippi, people. Ignore me. Vicksburg, Mississippi. Huge, vital part of the war. Vital part of bringing it down. Getting control of, the Mississippi River. Basically, the Union starved the Confederates to win this war. They had control of the food coming in and everything, because they took over. It's right on the Mississippi River. Took it over, starved them, and until they would surrender. And the funny thing about the people of Vicksburg, how stubborn they are, is that they surrendered, but they wouldn't celebrate the 4th of July until the 1970s, I think it was. They weren't going to celebrate Independence Day, damn it. And that's the stubborn people right there. But so we went to the battlefield, and it's so huge. that you drive around it, and it's not all of it. You drive around it, and what you see is not how it was, obviously, because it's well kept lawn now, but around it is the thickest. You wouldn't call it a forest because it's not large trees, and and there's a tree every 3-4 feet. It's thicket. It's a thicket.
Yeah.
And they had to fight to get through that, to get to the war. And people there, it's really slanty, and people died falling down these crevices, and so as we're driving, that's what's interesting to me. That's what I want to see. I want to see the stuff that's not on show, that has been manipulated by historians to look like a perfectly groomed, park. I want to see don't get me wrong. There's 2 issues here. That is fascinating to me as well. That first, the park one, I'll get to that. But the thicket and stuff was really fascinating to me because it was how they were. It was the way they had to try to get injured soldiers out. And if you were injured in the Civil War, if you got hit in the leg, then you're probably going to be okay. But they needed to get the bullet out ASAP, or you get lead poisoning. And they had amputations down to 15 seconds. But they couldn't do it on the battlefield. They had to take you off. So a lot of the people who were dying that were falling down these crevices were people who were trying to save lives. And I kind of stopped the car. I can feel this. I can feel it. I can hear it. The noise was overwhelming to me. The thunderous claps and the screaming and the yelling, between people yelling orders and people screaming in immense pain. If you got shot in the abdomen, then they would leave you on the battlefield because there was no hope for you. There was no way to take it out quickly, easily, and without you getting lead poisoning. So that's where we're going to come back to the grassy area. But you can get out and you stand on this pathway where the cars drive. You can get out, and you read about what this thicket thing was like, and it was during the winter, it was during the summer. It was horrendous. And they were, a lot of them boys, 12, 13, 14-year-old boys. And you can feel it. There's no anger. You don't feel anger on this. I'm talking about this battlefield. You don't feel anger. You don't feel rage or hate. It's something beyond fear, like really beyond fear. And it just washes. Somebody who can feel it as an empath. Like I said, I'm not a medium. I'm not psychic. I can feel the feelings of things. I can feel the emotions, the sounds. And it's terrible. It was so overwhelming to me that they have this huge thousands of unclaimed soldiers. I mean, thousands, dozens, tens of thousands of unclaimed soldiers, and they have the only ship that was ever saved intact, well, for the most part, during that war. And you can go, and you're not supposed to touch it. Of course, the story of my life is you're not supposed to touch this. Okay, can you turn your back? Because I'm going to touch it. That's all there is to it. I'm going to touch it. And from this boat, now this was it was not a battleship. It was a ship to bring ammunition and food, just clothing, goods down this side little part of this river. And it was the first underwater detonation of a bomb ever in history that they did to stop this boat. And I think it was the Confederate Army that sunk this Union boat. So it wasn't a battlefield thing. It wasn't a no. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think anybody died on it. But I touched it, and it still has the stone tape feeling. It has the feeling of the people who both sides were scared. Fear, just plain fear. One side is fearful that if this mission doesn't work, that they're going to lose the war, which they were losing anyway. But to them, this was a desperate, thing. And then the other side, who feels like if they don't get this, if they don't win, they're going to lose the country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so that it equals out. It's not when you're here. It's not a side versus side thing. It's a feeling that it's a human connection. And so I have my hand on the boat, on the wood of the boat, and my foot. I reach my foot in, and then you can see just off to the left all these 12, 13-year-old and up, unclaimed soldiers that their moms and sisters and dads, brothers, grandparents didn't know where they had been, where they had died, how they had died. They knew nothing. And I start bawling, like hyperventilating, because it's too overwhelming for me. And and we didn't go on the tour. We just did it ourselves. And this tourist group starts coming up. And I was so embarrassed because I said to my husband, these people are going to think I'm crying because we lost the war. We have to get out of here. This is embarrassing. Here like it was, and which is how I deal with things when I'm overwhelmed, is as Rob and I both do, is to make a joke about it. Right, Rob?
Yeah.
And so that's the only way I could possibly dig myself out of this hole that it was coming directly at me with all these people staring at me like, what is happening right now? But now the battlefields, the nicely clean kept mode battlefields, now that's a completely different thing. Thousands of gallons of blood were millions of gallons of blood were dropped here.
Yeah.
The land was soaked in it. If you grow anything there that grows roots, it's growing from the blood of dead soldiers. It's being fed from the blood of dead soldiers. Even the grass is being fed from the blood of dead soldiers.
I bet a lot of these soldiers as well were very young.
Well, that's what I said. They're 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
12, 13, 14 years old. Up to, older, much older. But still, yeah, they took boys.
Yeah.
They had to. Millions of people died. I mean, you're running out. The population wasn't that big back then. So,
that.
Yeah, it's not like now. But if you put your hand on the ground, it feels like sobbing. It feels like you can hear sobbing. And fears. Fear's a dominant feeling, but if you put your hand on the ground of a battlefield and you're the kind of person who can feel it or hear it, it feels like sobbing. It's pure dark and cold. And it was spectacular. It was overwhelming and amazing, and gave me a whole new perspective, because it's been so long that we see those things as tourist attractions.
Yeah.
Without really understanding what was at stake and the feelings involved, and I highly recommend it to everybody. I highly recommend that we don't forget history. We don't whitewash history. We view it as it was, because that's the only way you can learn. You can't learn from history, because I always say that the winners write history, right? Well, it should never be like that. It should never be like that. It should be told from both sides, because it matters for both sides. Um, dead children are dead children. You know what I mean? And the winners writing history glorify and all this stuff, and it's fear, and it's a common human emotion. Anyway, I think that every school child, every adult who've never been to a battlefield or something like it. I've been to Pearl Harbor as well. Same kind of feeling at Pearl Harbor. Not the child aspect, but the fear feels the same. Everybody should go to one.
Yeah. We forget that most wars are fought by young men and young women.
Yeah,
Like
and poor people.
Yeah, it's like Vietnam, isn't it? The average age they reckon was 19 in Vietnam. 19 years.
The guy who took over for my husband's father, the kid who took over for my husband's father, he was supposed to, because my husband's father served in Vietnam. The kid they sent to take over his place as a door gunner was 16 years old.
16.
And then he died on his first day of training. A 16-year-old, they have no concept.
No.
Of 12, 13, 14-year-old boys. They have no business. But throughout history, those ages of boys have had to fight.
Yeah.
And we forget that, yeah. I think we forget that they're real people. They were real people.
Oh.
They were really somebody's son, really somebody's daughter. And you were talking about the Tower of London.
That's it. That's
and
the one.
That's the one. And
that's the one.
So what did you say? What had you said to me about the Tower of London?
We were talking about this, and I said, I bet you'd love to go to the Tower of London and touch the walls in the Tower of London and feel what, because obviously people have been in prison there, they've been killed there, the crown jewels are there still.
Yes. And I said to you, stop right here. I don't want to talk about this right now. We have to talk about this on the podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that as somebody who's an empath. I feel like that would be almost insane feeling. Literally, like insane. Like that would be the feeling of feeling what it's like to be in an insane mind. Because of the torture,
Yeah.
That went on there. Same thing with the Bastille in France, the beheadings. And by the way, my favorite book on this planet is A Tale of Two Cities, which is about the London Tower and the Bastille, France and England. The kind of people that were there, the fact that there was a lot of people there that were just plain innocent and yet tortured, and literally lost their minds, literally went insane. I don't know if I could do that without having some sort of a chink in my psyche, like chipping off a little bit of my psyche. I don't know if I could do it. It's so dark, so dark. There's no redeeming quality. Not that there is on a battlefield either, but it was horrible. A nightmare, literally.
On a battlefield, like we've just talked about Gettysburg and we've talked about other places, it's as tragic and terrible as it is, it's spread out over a wide area.
Yeah. Yes.
The Tower of London, it's not. It's like a melting pot of everything.
Yes, that's a good point.
The smoke of, well, it's quite big, the Tower of London, but it's not huge. From what I can remember.
Well, it's not acres and acres and miles and miles.
No, it isn't as big as what you think it's going to be. It's a long time since I've been to the town. We went when I was in the army, when I was in training. We went on a trip to London, and we went in the Tower of London. And I can't remember it being massive. So,
and did you get a feeling in it? Did it feel like anything to you?
It was very cold. Even though it was a really hot day, it was very cold. I can't imagine whether that was. I don't know if that was a feeling of the place or whether it was just always cold inside. It's tourist friendly now. It's like everything's behind glass cases, and you got to. It's for visitors. You have to go in a certain way. You get escorted round. People aren't just left to their own devices in there. So it is sanitized in some respects, but yeah, it's still it was cold, and it was. I wouldn't like to spend a night there, put it that way.
Isn't it funny though that these tragic places are tourist attractions now?
Yeah. I mean,
was it Anne Boleyn that was beheaded in the Tower of London?
There was a couple, weren't there? Henry VIII. How many wives did he have beheaded?
I think. Well, Anne Boleyn, I think, was one of the wives he had beheaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just got. He didn't. It was against his religion to get a divorce.
So we changed it.
Yeah, they changed it. Well, because there was, you can only take off so many heads, for God's sakes. What are you going to do with them? Can't make bowling balls out of them.
I bet there's one thing for sure.
I
bet none of his wives ever complained about having a headache.
I bet they did not. It's funny because I do believe this is the second time in 2 podcasts that we've talked about Anne Boleyn. Because I think last week I talked about her not being completely decapitated.
Oh, yeah. It didn't come off the first time, did it?
Yeah. She had the worst luck. Well, don't you think it's interesting because, you've been in a war? Don't you think it's interesting that maybe at some point that'll be a tourist attraction? How does that make you feel?
Well, it's funny because I was thinking about that just before when we were talking about Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
a lot of I've read, I don't know if this is true, but you'll be able to tell me probably. A lot of ex-veterans from Vietnam actually go back to Vietnam to visit and
Mm-hmm.
I could never go back to there. I wouldn't want to go back to there.
Yeah.
I don't want to say where it was, but I wouldn't want to visit and go back there, even though it's supposedly safe there now. But
why? Is there a reason why you don't want to say where it was, or you just don't feel comfortable?
Just don't feel comfortable about.
Okay.
Because obviously, not on a podcast anyway.
Well, I mean, I know where it was.
Yeah.
But I wonder if Vietnam vets would go back to Vietnam to see it in a different light.
Yeah.
Light at all, period. Light in general. Since a lot of them were, under the canopy. But to experience it without the kind of fear that they had the last time they landed there.
Well, I can tell a little quick story about Vietnam.
Okay.
When I was in training in the army, we had a lad called, it don't matter what he was called. He used to boast that his dad was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And no one believed him. He was the lad was English. He spoke English. He was English. He went to an English school, so no one believed him, and he was a bit strange.
Wait, was he Vietnamese?
No, he was English.
Okay, he was English, but he talked about his dad.
Yeah, so we didn't believe him
because there was no English helicopter pilots in Vietnam.
Pardon?
Because Britain didn't participate in Vietnam.
Yeah, let me tell you the story, then you'll get what I mean.
Okay.
So anyway, when we finished our training, our first sort of 6 months of training, your parents could come in for the day, and then you get your first leave. So we basically took the piss out of him for 6 months, talking about his dad. His dad turned up. He was about 6'6", in American Marine uniform. He was American, and we all felt really, 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 really bad. Because his dad had been injured in Vietnam, and he got burnt. His face was burnt up on the side. But he'd gone back to Vietnam to visit and married a Vietnamese woman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and moved her back to America. So he had. I think something happened to his first wife, who was the boy's mum, real mum, birth mother. And his stepmom was Vietnamese. Now I could never get my head around that, because I know love is love, and but firstly to go back and visit would be, even in the position that I'm in now, of the experience that I've had, I find difficult to understand. And then to marry a Vietnamese woman.
Well, but they were protecting the Vietnamese in general. It was the Viet Cong they were fighting.
Yeah, it's it was just weird.
And the Vietnamese people didn't like them any more than.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think a lot of American men had children with Vietnamese women.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, like my father-in-law was a door gunner. None of those jobs sound appealing to me at all. Thank you.
No.
But how do you feel about if somebody if they started making a tourist attraction and put a Ripley's Believe It or Not on the side of the street where you lost your belly button?
I would think it was ridiculous. I would think it's just very bad taste.
It's strange that we do that. I mean, like, think of the Roman Colosseum. What did they do in the Roman Colosseum? Well, they, had lions eat Christians. We should go. Let's go look.
Let's go make a McDonald's inside.
At least put it outside. Yeah, it's so strange. I mean, throughout history, that's what we do. We make these places money makers. Wow. That's kind of deep.
Yeah. It's like the Vatican. The Vatican's got, in Italy, it's got a wall around the Vatican.
Yeah.
Now, there's no way on earth they'd ever allow someone to put a Ripley's up or a McDonald's up in Vatican City.
Starbucks? Well, that's a bummer.
He should like the Starbucks. He's obsessed with Starbucks.
Well, the Vatican has enough money. It doesn't need to have a McDonald's, Rob. They have a wall to protect the money inside.
Yeah.
Keisha's obsessed with Starbucks.
She loves it.
That's so funny. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to discuss about this? Obviously, you believe it.
Well, I haven't. What I was about to say earlier when we had our misfortune.
Yeah, tell me what you want to say.
Well, firstly, I'd like to say hello to a lady called Zoe, who's been posting a lot on the group about this. Now,
hello, Zoe.
Hello, Zoe. Thank you for all the stuff you posted. I really appreciate it. But, and I know you don't like Zach Baggins.
Me?
No, Zoe doesn't. She told me in no uncertain terms that she doesn't like him.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Zach Baggins, but whatever.
Well, anyway.
I can take him or leave him.
I thought that basically, this sounds really stupid now I'm saying it out loud, that he had come up with the term, the stone tape theory.
Oh.
That was the first time I'd heard about it. I'm being completely honest. It was the first time I'd heard about it. And then when we started doing research, or especially you came up that it was very, very old and it wasn't a new term at all. I was quite shocked, really, because he was a really, really big advocate for the stone tape theory. He was the first person that I'd seen when he would go to a different location. He would want to touch the walls or the floor. Or
Zach and I together would be a very strange combination.
Yeah, very strange.
We would have. I would be like, "Do you mind if I touch you?" Yeah, I mean, you have seen some things. Can I touch you? It'd be weird. We would be weird. We'd be crawling all over floors and walls. Don't mind them. They're just feeling history.
That's tough.
can't get the picture out of your mind, can you?
I just don't know what to say, basically. So just keep it up, in case I say the wrong thing.
Me and Zach in the dark room. Zach, have you ever felt a hole from a musket? Right. A musket, Rob. Look, you go, all right. I'm a small child. You need to step in front of me. Don't go into traffic.
Sometimes your mind goes places that I don't necessarily want to follow.
But you do. Anyway.
I long for the days we used to talk about necrophilia. And that was our go-to place. Till now.
That was our happy place. Yeah, we can just get back to that. So what we talk about now. Well, do you have anything else you want to say about Stone Tape Theory?
Nothing at all. I don't want to have to speak again.
Well, thank you for gracing us with your presence, Rob. By the way, is Zoe American?
I think she may be, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome, Zoe.
Yep.
Welcome to everybody.
Yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed the podcast.
You know what's coming up, Rob? Today is September 1st, which is fall 1st / Christmas 1st. And fall means Halloween. So it's also Halloween. And what's coming up in 4 weeks from now, Rob? Oh my gosh.
4 weeks, October.
Yeah. And what happens in October, Rob?
Halloween.
What happens on my channel, Rob?
Content every day. Yay.
What's it called? I feel like am I pulling a tooth?
It's called 31 Days of Halloween.
31 Days of Halloween. Wow. Yeah, it's coming. We've already had, as you know, a story sent in.
From Mark.
Yes, from Mark. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Mate. Appreciate that. Stoked about that. So, as a reminder, you have like 3 weeks to send me your stories. You can do this. Send me a story you've written, and I will narrate it for you and edit it. Send me a story that you've written and you've narrated it. And I'll put that up. If it needs to be edited, you can tell me what kind of photos you want on there. Or if you've edited it already, whatever. It's up to you. Use your imaginations. If you have an experience that you've experienced that's paranormal, and you would like to tell that, and record that and send it to me, awesome. If you would like me to read your experience, I'll do that too. Totally open. If you would like to send me content for the 31 Days of Halloween, with the exception of the top 50 anythings, because I'm never doing that again, please do that.
Or superheroes versus monsters.
Yeah, let's never do that one again. Let's never do superheroes versus monsters again. Everybody's a winner. Yeah, just send it to me. And if you have a problem sending it to me, which seems to be the case sometimes, Mark knows best because he's got to be the most frustrated person. You'll also have you send it to Rob because that seems to work out better than sending it to me, and I don't know why. I really have no idea. I don't understand. But if ask me for my email address, I'll give it to you. And if it doesn't go through, I'll give you Rob's, and it's 100% sure to go through with Rob.
Yeah, just leave a comment.
Yeah.
And then I'll send. If you want my email address, I'll give you my email address. It's probably easier just to do that, and then I can forward it on to Tracer.
Yeah, that's perfect. All right. Well, thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. Please give this video a thumbs up. It, as I've said before, helps my channel to be seen. And if you subscribe, you'll also be notified when my content goes live. If you click the bell that's like always notify, then you'll be notified. You'll know when it goes up, and you can come on over. We have a great, great community. The people here are so kind and warm and easy to talk to, and I think that if you're the kind of person that enjoys the type of content that is on my channel, and you're not mean, you're gonna love it here, because I really do. It's a cozy family feeling. You know what I mean? Like the Addams Family.
You're really selling it.
You have to admit, you and I are a little weird.
Yep.
Especially you.
Fuck you.
I had to beat you to it because I knew it was coming from you. All right, you guys. Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.